This is a quick podcast on how to create an action with Photoshop CS5. First thing we do is we open up an image, any image, on our in Photoshop CS5. Okay. Now, to create an action, what we want to do is record a series of steps we would use for processing the image. In this particular case, the only thing I really want to do to this image is to lighten up the midtones considerably. I know that when I project them on my bright monitor at home, everything looks terrific, but when I bring it in here to class, everything looks a little dull and a little underexposed. So I just want to open up the midtones a little bit. Okay, so let's get started with creating an action. First we go up to the action palettes, and that occurs right up here. And you notice my actions, I have a considerable number of actions, but they're all in what's referred to as button mode. If you go up on top and you click on the little corner, you get a drop down menu, and the first item on it says button mode. We want that toggles button mode on and off. I want to click on it, and when I do, you notice it basically takes the actions out of button mode. Okay, now thing about actions is we keep actions as sets of actions, which are just groups of actions, and then within each group we can have a variety of actions. So for example, I have a calibration correction folder or set of actions, and underneath it there are 3 individual actions. Okay. In this particular case, I want to create a new action, and I want to create it under the for competition, no, not for competition, working image, oh God, what is that? Working images CS2. Alright, that's where I keep most of my general actions. You just see there's a whole bunch of them here. There's little triangles to the left of each one. If I click on it, it's like expanding or shrinking a tree structure. So I've made it all the way down. Okay, so the first thing I want to do here is I want to click on the set of the actions, and I want to go to the menu again. I want to drop down and I want to click on New Action. That opens up a dialog box, and it's asking for a name, and I'm going to call it Brighten Image. If I can type. Alright, and the set, you see it's already placing it since I clicked on it under the set Working Images CS2, but I could have put it in any of the other sets that's there. Alright, but this is a good set to put it in. I can give it a color, I can assign it a function key, a shortcut if you like to get there. Color wise, let's make it a gray action. Alright, and now when I hit the record button, we start recording. Everything I do after this is to become part of the action. So in our particular case, I'm not going to do much here. I'm just simply going to go up to the adjustments palette. I'm going to click on the curves adjustment, and you see it's created an adjustment layer with a mask, and all I want to do, go to the center point and pull up the curve pretty much, quite a bit. Let's hope that doesn't blow it out too bad on our screen, but it should come pretty close, I think. And when I'm happy with that, I just hit the little left pointing arrow, which closes it again. So now we have the action. Alright, once I have that action, I want to flatten the image, so I'm going to go up to Layer, and I'm going to come down to Flatten Image. Alright, and that's really all I want to do. Just a nice, simple, straightforward action. So now I go back over to our action palette. I go down to the bottom, and when I created the action, it started recording it. The little red button came on, and all I have to do is tell it to stop recording. Okay. So what we've done, having done that, is we've created an action. And if you look in the palette here, you can see it added it down at the bottom. There's an action here, so I can blow this up and have you see it. Don't know if this works or not. Well, I meant to type brighten action, but I called it brighten image, so why not? But you can see what it does is it makes an adjustment layer for curves, all right, and it sets the adjustment using those conditions. Let me pull this out a bit. And scroll it down. All right, come back to it. Okay, so we have our action here. The first thing it did is it made an adjustment layer as a new layer, and then I went in it and I played with the curves and I redefined the points. I left the 0 point at 0. I left the 255 point at 255. I took about the midpoint, 130, and I dragged it up to 136. Okay, so that's all we did in this particular case. I'm going to drop it down, close that up, close that up. All right. And let me move that back over and get out of the zoom. Okay, now if I undo what I did with the actual action just to test it out, it's always a good idea to test it out. I'm going to open the image, go back up to the open step before we did anything to it. Okay, and we're back at the original image. Now what I want to do here now is I want to run this action. And you can run it a couple of ways. I can go into button mode. If I do go into button mode, which I can by dropping down the menu and just clicking on button mode, and I scroll down my buttons, you can see that the last one in that first set is brighten image. And if I just simply click on that button, it brightens the image for us. Simple, straightforward. Okay, let me undo that again. All right, now let me go back into actions and go back to undo the button mode, because what I want to do is I want to save this action. You create it and it stays okay as long as you exit Photoshop normally. It'll be there, but you know, you could lose it out of the setups, the preference setups from Photoshop. So it's a good idea to save the action. Now you cannot save an individual action, but you can save a set of actions. So what I have to do is go back up to the working images set, and then once I've got that highlighted, then I drop down, come down to where it says Save Actions. Okay? Click on Save Actions. It opens up a window and says, okay, where the hell do you want to put these? I can give that whole set a new name or just save it under the same name. And you see I already have it. I'm sure I already have it in here. Yeah, there it is. Okay, this is it right here. And the last time I played with it was February 4th of this year. So let's just save it over top of what's there. I'm going to say save. It says, do you want to replace it? I'm going to say OK. All right. So now we have it safely saved, basically. Now to use it, I'm going to go back into to button mode. All right. All right. Now, that's all there is to creating an action. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to take this action and use it in a batch process. Okay? So if you hang on, come back with me in a second in the next podcast, and we'll be all set.